And we welcome you back to another episode of the Sports Nerd Podcast. It's been a while. It's been crazy couple of months. ACC kickoff had happened, and I had been at the studio helping out a lot with my current station VTRN. I've got a wedding in the future that I'm planning for, and all that going on. So it's definitely been a while since we posted on Sports Nerd. I think the last time I posted for the podcast was, well, the Marlins were about a few games away from 500, and now they are like 6 games away from being 500 after that whole Riley rant. Now, as the Braves, well, that's a whole different story. But since then, media days have happened. I'm hoping to have a couple of college football conference shows, predictions as far as that goes within the next week. Power Four more so than anything, but may throw in a couple of group of five. If I do, it'll just be, hey, who's going to win this division? Who's to look out for? But it's been a great nonetheless. Well, thank you all for who have listened to the Sports Nerd Podcast. And as we are now starting the month of August, whole new month, you know what that means. Football has returned. We are finally back to one of America's most loved sports, that is football. Hall of Fame game was yesterday between the Lions and the Chargers. Chargers would go on to win that game, and there's definitely some things to keep an eye out of as far as position battles go, as far as team outlooks go. It's a whole thing. You're going to have players like Trey Lance, who's getting a lot of hype, look good in the preseason, but just probably won't be up to star potential, especially when you go into training camp. You see all of training camp going on right now. There's a lot of news coming out with that. The Indianapolis Colts have their quarterback battle going on. People are worried about how Caleb Williams looks up in Chicago. There's a lot of questions on where the Carolina Panthers are going this year. A lot of questions from other teams all around. But the biggest news has been so far, before we get into that, there's been trade requests from 2 teams in the NFC East with their star players, as well as a team up north in Cincinnati who finally signed one defensive player. Their first round pick, Shamar Stewart, officially signed after holding out. Never have we seen the draft pick hold out for as long as Shamar Stewart did, but he did. And the Bengals took their time to sign him. And now you've got the Trey Hendrickson battle going on. But before we get into that, joining me today on the Sports Nerd Podcast side of things, Joey Palermo, a regular guest here on the Sports Nerd. Joey, how are you doing today, man?
Happy it's Friday, man. Just just happy to be back on the Sports Nerd. Happy that the month of August is here, and with it comes much football, whether NFL or college football. Yeah. It's the time where things start ramping up, and it just feels like the NFL has been in a crazy ramp up situation for the past couple weeks, maybe even a couple months or so. So I'm really excited to talk about it, but I'm really excited to be here as well. And yeah, just looking forward to talking about football.
Joey Palermo, the general manager, sports director in Cookeville, Tennessee, joining the podcast today as a guest. Did you watch the Hall of Fame game at all? I'll be honest, I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched a couple of the drives. I was also at my other job yesterday, so didn't get to see too much go down. But I did see where the Chargers did show up a bit. Omarion Hampton looked decent, though there are some worries there with his play. Lions have a lot of questions, especially because they had 2 offensive linemen right after the draft say, hey, we're going to go ahead and retire due to medical reasons. Obviously, you lose Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn are now head coaches of their own NFL teams now. So Dan Campbell had to regroup, pick up a few more people. So there's definitely questions with the lines there. Joey, did you watch any of the Hall of Fame game yesterday?
I did actually. I watched. I think watched is a too generous a word for the game. I
Yeah.
think we watched the first half of it, and then we caught like bits and pieces of the second half.
Yeah.
Um, I think I'm kind of right there with you. I think Trey Lance didn't look absolutely terrible. Like he actually looked
Yeah.
competent for. I think
Yeah.
I can say the first time in his NFL career that he's looked competent.
He definitely
Um,
looked better than when he threw 6 picks or 5 picks for the Cowboys in preseason against the Rams. That's for sure.
that's true. And I mean, he wasn't the guy that was stinking it up because this Hall of Fame game made me remember that Kyle Allen's still a quarterback in this league.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
he he played like a guy that a lot of people forgot that he was a quarterback, and that game kind of proved why. Um, yeah, I mean, I will say two quick things about it. Trey Lance, yeah. Naheem Hines, good to see him on a football field again.
It's very good to see him back again.
Yeah, he had that bad accident a couple years ago, and he's now trying to sign in again with the Chargers. I think he'll be their kick returner come week one.
Yeah,
Um,
more than likely.
but I think the Chargers, I mean, you can take what you want out of the Hall of Fame game. Marion Hampton had like one drive.
Yeah.
He's a rookie. He's getting around it. You think he'll improve. But yeah, I watched the Hall of Fame game. First half and then a good chunk of the second half.
Yeah. I watched a little bit of the first half, about a few drives. I will say though, Trey Lance may have had a good game, but I don't like to buy preseason hype like a lot of people. I want to be careful when I buy into somebody after preseason. It just depends. Hey, is this consistent, and how will they do if they were to face first stringers? You don't know. It's kind of like, when training camp happens and everyone goes, okay, so these quarterbacks did this during the practice run 7-on-7, and I'm just like, okay, yeah, but again, they're practicing, they're not really going as hard. This isn't a massive game situation. Like, good for Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders to perform well, but again, it's practice as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Hall of Fame game itself is always kind of fun to watch. It's a good little taste to get back into the NFL season this year, and last year starting. We're only going to have 3 preseason games, and I think we're going to get to a point, if Roger Goodell has his way, we're only going to have 2, and the 2 teams that do the Hall of Fame game will have 3. As of talks are going right now, I mean, the NFL is constantly changing rules wise, landscape wise. I mean, we saw AI first down measuring yesterday. We got a little bit of a taste of that. What did you think, Joey, about the new technology that the NFL is bringing in to measure first downs? No longer, I guess you can say, will the chains be the main factor, the main determiner?
Yeah, that chain gang's probably going to have to make. I would say they're probably making minimum wage this season
Yeah,
because
probably, more than likely. Yeah.
there's very little that they have to do this year. I mean, I liked it. Admittedly, I didn't catch the first use of it, but I will say that it makes the game go by faster. And then they did some replay reviews as well. That also expedited the length of those. I think there was one instance where guy, they ruled a touchdown and then they, took a quick look at it and they said after replay assist, it's incomplete. And, it just makes the game go by a lot for that. That game went by really quick for
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, it did.
I know it was 3.5 hours still, but it's a football game. There's a, first game of the season. There's a lot of pomp and
Well,
circumstance.
you also got to take in the fact that they're introducing the Hall of Famers and everything. They're going to have about 15, 20 minutes doing that at half.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's like the
So,
actual game lasted about 3 hours.
yeah. Yeah. But I mean, you like you said, the speed of the game is going to change. It's kind of like baseball. Remember, before the pitch clock happened, baseball games would take for nearly 5 hours if they wanted to. Remember, the Yankees, they're known for holding their pitches. Now at the pitch clock, can't really hold your pitches as long as you want to. So, and I think it's because they know attention spans are changing drastically. I mean, you're lucky to get people to see a 2 minute clip these days on social media without scrolling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it comes down to that. The speed of the game is changing. The game is constantly changing. I think we're going to see a lot of what's being implemented in the NFL soon to go down to college. And then high schools will probably have the option of using it depending on what the level of broadcast. I mean, schools in Texas, if you can afford what I think there was a school in Texas that had what a $60 million renovation for their football stadium at one point this year that was just announced.
Georgia.
Georgia, yeah, but you can see why I thought it was Texas.
No, I get it. Like, there's certain high schools that'll take advantage of the replay assist and,
Yeah,
maybe use technology in the future. But I think that's going to be the very vast minority of high schools in certain states that I think will be a part of that. I think Texas, Georgia, the schools that are known for their football and have put a lot of resources into it will put a lot in. But I think for the most part, a lot of high school football games, I think you're going to see what we're seeing now.
yeah, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. And speaking of the ever changing NFL, Disney wants everything, right? They want to own everything. Disney owns ESPN. And now they have significant equity now in the NFL. Today, the ESPN and NFL Network agreed to a deal worth billions of dollars in equity, where now you're going to have Red Zone and several regular season games now acquired by ESPN. And this will take place next year. This will take place next year, not this season, but the next season, which means folks who have YouTube TV may see a drastic drop because Red Zone, depending on how that's offered, YouTube won't be the main holder, really, or then maybe they do see a significant rise because now that YouTube doesn't own it, Google whatsoever, the price maybe won't be as high. Who knows? Maybe Disney and NFL will have Red Zone at a cheaper rate than what YouTube offers. But look, the fantasy football rights also offered in this deal, and it makes you wonder, Joey, what the future of the NFL streaming may become due to this deal. Let's start with your opinion first. What do you think the future looks like as far as NFL streaming goes? Look, we are seeing NFL streaming in a whole different light now. Gone are the days where you just had to go get NFL Sunday Ticket on DirecTV. Gone are the days where it was just like, oh yeah, you got Monday Night Football on ESPN. Yeah, you got Sunday Night Football on NBC. You have 1 o'clock and sometimes primetime games happening on Fox. On yes, this year you got to go to Netflix. You got to go to Prime, which Prime has had Thursday Night Football for a long time as well, but now they're owning other regular season games. But now Netflix gets a stake at it. It's a whole thing for NFL streaming. And it's once again, I think people have said that it's almost $1,000 to watch every NFL game this season. That's crazy in itself, and that's a piece. If you want to watch every NFL game under streaming rights and cable television, be prepared to pay at least $1,000.
It's crazy, man. The amount that people will spend, and I mean, never mind the ESPN streaming service that they're coming out with, which I mean,
Yeah, I heard about that. What is it? It's not ESPN Plus. It's called what?
it's
What is
just
it?
ESPN.
It's just ESPN.
Yeah, so it's just called that. Um, that's dropping very soon, and
Yeah.
there's that whole thing. So who knows what the NFL is going to have in that? Listen, I've heard nothing but like just a lot of worrisome thoughts from a lot of people.
Yeah.
Um, because they don't know what Red Zone's going to look like after this season. I mean,
Yeah,
who's to say that ESPN doesn't just replace
Scott
all the
Hansen.
NFL Network insiders with
Yeah,
theirs? And I mean, the NFL Network and Red Zone have been the safe haven for a lot of football fans for a long time.
yeah,
And I think the whole precursor to this was I think Rich Eisen was on ESPN Radio doing a couple of his shows over the summer, and I think that was kind of really what kickstarted those negotiations.
yeah. Well, he's on our station right now, as well as other stations who ever carry Infinity Sports Network. And he was with Roku, and so ESPN offered him a deal, and I think that was just the beginning. Getting a popular show like the Rich Eisen show that draws in millions upon millions of viewers and lots of streamers to come in and watch his show because he's a main NFL guy. And he said, "Look, I'll take the ESPN deal. I'll go back to you guys, but I want to be able to do NFL coverage. That is what I want to do. I want to be with NFL Network." And now, shoot, ESPN now owns equity in NFL Network. So,
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, I don't know what the future is going to hold for NFL streaming after next season. I'm hoping it's very simplistic
yeah,
in that, because I mean, to answer your thing about YouTube TV, I don't think their popularity is going away. I mean, they installed multi-views last year, which a lot of people are really high on. And also,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, the NFL may not be available in terms of Sunday Ticket or Red Zone or whatever, but I mean, college football, college basketball, not to mention the start of NBA, NHL, and all that. Granted, NBA and NHL now have their own season things, but I think it's the college aspect that I think is going to generate a lot of YouTube
yeah,
TV revenue going forward because, I mean, you have the college football that was introduced when the multi-view took place. So I think it's very possible that YouTube TV might have a more of a friendly deal going forward with their programming. But even so, I mean, who's to say that they don't have? I mean, they're going to carry the local games and they're going to carry the primetime games for sure.
yeah,
I know ESPN has select regular season games that they're going to be broadcasting now, besides Monday Night Football.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't, after next season, and I mean, who's to say it doesn't go past that in terms of negotiations and all? But yeah, I'm hoping that it's very simplistic because, like I've told a few people, I'm in the camp that I think one day we're going to see these streaming services really start to, gel into one, whether that's, for streaming for TV or movies or series or what have you. I think whether it's that or whether it's sports, I think you're going to see a conglomerate sooner rather than later. And I think this ESPN deal may be the start of that.
No, and I agree. I think it was inevitable that soon ESPN and Disney would own a major corporation like the NFL. I mean, NFL is number one when it comes to revenue between the four leagues. They generate so much. So, I mean, just think about how much this deal is going to be, what it's going to bring to all these companies, and now it makes you wonder how much availability are these games able to be broadcasted as terms as how much they're going to cost to be seen, viewed. And I think if you bring in shows like the Rich Eisen show and mash that up together with shows like, well, NFL Live that they have going right now, um, on ESPN, so it's NFL Countdown, so forth, right? So I think the mixture of that, it just brings both companies together. And honestly, I'm interested to see how it goes and how it looks. I don't think this is the worst thing in the world.
There's too many though. At the end of the day, I mean, you're right. I mean, Netflix has their own thing. YouTube is having their own thing. I know it's free.
Yeah,
I get it, but also like people pay for YouTube Premium, which
yeah,
is $13 a month. You've got Prime Video, which I think it's like 11 a month.
yeah.
Netflix is pushing 20.
11.99.
Netflix is
Be
pushing
able to
20 a
view.
month. You've got Peacock if some people want to watch it on NBC streaming
Yeah, that's another
service.
streaming service I forgot about. Peacock's going to be hosting some games this year.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
so I mean, if you're paying for all that, and then you're trying to pay for ESPN on top of that, which
Yeah.
I've seen some of the deals, and I mean, they're past 20. Like I've seen the packages, they're like 24 a
Go
month.
figure. I mean, when you're
Yeah.
passionate enough, I guess you go for it,
And it's
right?
just going to keep going up because of all the content
No,
that they have.
it is. It's
You-
going to raise. It's going to rise.
But if you're, I mean, if you're doing all the math while you're listening to this, that's like, and then you've got YouTube. If you want to watch college football, you got to pay for YouTube TV, and that's a cable service, so it's going to go up by quite a bit. I mean, that's 3 figures a month that you're paying for to watch all these football games. Not to mention basketball. Not to mention, the later sports that are going to be happening in the winter and the fall. So I just think it's going to be, it goes back to there's too many of them, and I think the day's going to come where there's going to be one conglomerate, and I'm hoping that it's something that is feasible for people to invest in.
Maybe this is crazy for me to say because I know Amazon is a massive, massive company, one of the top companies out there. As when you put out Apple and Google, Disney, and so forth, but it makes you wonder how long till Disney buys Amazon Prime, buys Amazon, and then they own the rights to Prime and those games, those deals.
Because you think if they can do that with billion-dollar equity, who knows?
It's easy for them to go in and probably buy off NBC too if they wanted to, depending on what kind of deal can get done there. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a better chance. I think they've already got ABC, but I think
they do have ABC. ABC is Disney.
Yeah, I'm saying like I think once you get into the cable channels like the NBC and the CBSs and Foxes of the world, I think that's a whole different ballpark. Amazon doesn't have a channel. I mean, it's just a streaming service. Like I say, just, but Amazon is thinking about expanding everywhere. I mean, that could be the next big step. I mean, if you get something like that, because the one thing that I don't think Disney and ESPN have is an exclusive like online website that you can buy stuff. I mean, do people really go on Disney.com to buy stuff? Not really. Like, I don't even know if there is a Disney.com, to be honest with you.
Right.
But all that to say, like, what's the next step? It's buying your merchandise, buying the memorabilia, everything of that nature. So that could be the next step. We'll see about Amazon. But, I mean, yeah, that's just going to add on to everything else.
Man, oh, man. It's going to be crazy to see. I mean, we're seeing an evolution where you're going to see, maybe you see viewership drop because it's like, well, I don't want to pay this much money for so-and-so service. So I think there's definitely going to have to be a talk of, okay, we want to keep the fan base around. What is our price range going to be? So I think that's the whole thing in itself. That's a whole massive conversation in itself. But we digress. We move on. Stars wanting out, right? Micah Parsons today at around 2:00 p.m. posted on social media. Micah Parsons broke his own news. He said, "Hey, I'm requesting a trade from the Dallas Cowboys. I don't feel like this corporation wants me. I want to be a Dallas Cowboy. I want to play for the fans and everybody, but I don't feel wanted." That's a basic way to summarize it up because it's a whole 2 pages to read. Michael Parsons, this has been a fight in itself for so long. I mean, if you listen to us here at the Fast Lane with Ed Lane here at VTRN, we discussed it before. We discussed it on the show today, too. I mean, in quick fashion, about a 3-4 minute discussion there towards the end. But I mean, I remember speaking with Zach Wolchuk of The Fan that probably 2 weeks ago, right before they went to Oxnard for training camp. And there is a speculation. Look, I'm going to come out and say it, Joey. and I'm going to go ahead and include Terry McLaurin in here. We'll get to that in a second. But these trade requests, they're not going to get traded. They're not going to get traded. They're not going to a new team. This is all just their way of saying, hey, like, this is how serious I am. I'm requesting a trade. Apparently, back in March, just to reiterate from what we've said on the Sports Nerd and the Fast Lane with Ed Lane, Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones, supposedly, Micah said this himself, had a deal on the table they shook hands about. He told this to one of the most reliable sources for Dallas Cowboy News in Clarence Hill. He's been covering the Cowboys since 1997. Micah told Clarence, he said, yeah, look, before the draft, Jerry Jones and I basically shook and said, hey, this is the kind of deal we want. We think we both can agree to, right? Like I can be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league and take care of me and my family and still play for Dallas for the next 4 or 5 years. And Jerry said, yeah, well, we can do that, supposedly. He said, okay, well, get to talk to my agent and we'll put pen to paper. Jerry Jones doesn't reach out to Micah's agent at all. So now it's like, hey, wait a second. This is weird. Why aren't you reaching out to my agent? Why aren't you talking to the guy at all? I thought we had a deal that we were going to work out. So Micah starts holding out. And we all know where this story goes, where Micah doesn't show up to any of the camps, as usually these holdouts, usually this is what these holdouts lead to. Hey, I'm missing mini camp. I'm missing camp in general, and I may appear at training camp to avoid the fine, but I'm not going to practice. And Micah Parsons was doing that. And then you've got good old Jerry Jones. Oh, Jerry, coming out to Oxnard and does what Jerry Jones does, right? He practically throws his players under the bus, including Micah Parsons, including Trayvon Diggs, who had to have a $500K pay cut because he wasn't rehabbing in Dallas. He was rehabbing back home. So that was like 84% of missed participation. Well, gets to the point after that where Jerry says, we'll get a deal done with Micah when we want to. I mean,
yeah, he did Dak too.
Yeah, and he threw Dak under the bus too. And then a reporter said, well, what about Carson Steele and Trayvon Diggs? He said, well, what do you think? Should we have even done a deal with them too? Like, it's just been a whole thing. Jerry throws his players under the bus. You got Micah Parsons and Trayvon Diggs, who called their own media availability meeting. And it was practically like they were preaching to each other, preaching to each other. Sorry, preaching to the media members around. It just looks like these players don't want to play in Dallas anymore. To summarize it up without going on a massive rant, because I've done it before and I don't think it's great content to really go on the same rant. I think a deal's going to get done. I'm not going to worry because this is Jerry. Jerry does this. Look, Dak and CD were literally signed a week before the first game, right? Micah is going to get signed. Whether or not he takes the Chris Jones route of, hey, you guys play the Eagles without me. Let me know how that goes. Okay, Micah, well, look, we didn't do well against the Eagles. We feel like because you were missing out there, that was why we didn't do well. So let's go ahead and get a deal done. Deal done the next day, right? That's probably what it's going to be for Terry McLaurin, potentially, maybe, on his side of things. I think a deal will get done, but I think in Terry's case, it's more so he's a lot older. He's approaching 30. Wide receivers tend to lose their value as they get older and older. See Cooper Kupp, for example. Still a good wide receiver, but not the same wide receiver he was 4 or 5 years ago, right? Do you want to go that route and pay a wide receiver a ton of money that sinks your cap to the point where if you start struggling because of his age, he starts to deteriorate. It's like, oh man, we're stuck with you now, right? But Micah is young. Micah will be turning 26 soon. And I just don't understand why you don't want to get a guy who's gone out and shown he can be a leader, a guy who's improved tremendously, one of the best defenders out there, and potentially let him fall into the hands next year of a rival or another NFC team. I just don't understand that. Joey, what are your thoughts on the whole Micah Parsons case? Because I feel like I've spoken my piece. I feel like I've said as much as I can about the whole situation.
I mean, it's been the story of the offseason, seemingly, as Micah Parsons and someone else who we'll get to. But I mean, really, with I think the whole crux to the argument, I think there was someone else that a lot of people thought was going to get in the same situation that Mike is in now, and that was TJ Watt. I think a lot of people were not expecting TJ Watt to get signed when he did for as much money as he did. And I think that really opened a lot of people's eyes, not only at the amount of, money that they gave him, but also the fact they did it so quickly as well. Given Pittsburgh's offseason, I think that's the biggest win that they've had so far this offseason. Now, as for Micah Parsons, I mean, he's much like, other ends. I mean, Micah Parsons, without question, is one of the best defensive ends in the league, and he deserves to be paid like it. And a lot of people and a lot of players and athletes have gone on Parsons' side and said the same thing. Like, look, this guy deserves to get paid, and if you keep stringing it out, it's only going to make the contract tougher to get. And so, with all that being said, you know, I don't know what to make of this. I mean, a lot of people at first I was like, okay, he's as good as gone, but I've seen the recent ones. I mean, we talked about the Chris Jones thing. Like, he held out almost half the season because he wanted a new contract. I mean, it's not uncommon for players to hold out for multiple weeks on end in today's NFL, but for Parsons to hold out, I think is a different circumstance because the Cowboys defense operates around him. Like, without his pass rush, that's a much different defense. Like, you're basically relying on your pass defense to get stops. Your only starter, really, if Parsons is out, is Trayvon Diggs. And I have my opinions of him, but even so, he's a game changer, but he's the only one. On the one side, there's a difference between having just one game changer on defense and having one on each side of the ball, and that's something that Dallas will possess if Parsons is still there. I just really don't know when that process would happen of Parsons getting a deal. I mean, who's to say they're not speaking as we speak about getting a contract done?
Yeah. No, I think you take Micah Parsons away from this defense, and it's a decent defense to say the least. I love Ezraku and what he's bringing to the table. He's looked great in training camp. Can't wait to see him play. Mozzie Smith's getting better. Bringing back Dante Fowler is great. Look, the front seven is not terrible for Dallas. With or without Micah Parsons, though, with Micah Parsons, it's a big story. Without Micah Parsons, it's definitely a gap. Defensive backfield already is massively hurt, and there are so many question marks. Now, look, as a Cowboys fan, but you got to be honest here. We could see the Cowboys really struggle on defense this year. And losing Micah Parsons only makes it worse. You're looking at a team that's similar to the Bengals almost, where, look, you got a great offense all around. I really do think, especially now that you brought back a veteran in Lael Collins now. But as far as that goes, look, Dallas is going to be in a situation where they can give up, they can score 30 points a game potentially, but you're also going to lose. You're also going to give up 30 points a game right now if you don't make sure you. And even if you do keep Micah Parsons, that pass rush is still going to be a question mark. But it gives you some leverage. It gives you a little bit of a safety net going into the season. Especially because, let's be honest, Micah has shown he's one of the best defenders out there. We've seen it. He deserves to be in Defensive Player of the Year conversations, especially when he's fully healthy. He missed 4 games last year, yeah, but it's rare for Micah to be out with injury. It is. And he's also very young. You don't want to lose young, talented defenders like that unless you're prepared to rebuild all over again. And Jerry doesn't believe in rebuilding. He thinks he always has a team that's capable of winning a Super Bowl. But a lot of fans are not confident. I mean, even media members are not confident. JJ Watt even has called him out. Former future Hall of Famer JJ Watt, you know, calling as he sees it. Look, Jerry's handling this terribly. He handled it terribly in the 90s when he felt like he wasn't getting credit. And then it's funny how he loves to go back to how great they were in the 90s. Yes, they were great in the 90s. The Cowboys were one of the best franchises, are one of the best franchises, but they don't show it, not in recent years. And let's be honest, without Jimmy Johnson and other coordinators and who bring in those players, built that team, do those Super Bowls happen? Yeah, you won one Super Bowl without Jimmy. Congratulations. You won it with Jimmy's team. Now, let's be honest here, Jerry Jones. You weren't the main reason for it. And sorry to say, Stephen Jones, but you do wait till the last minute to do contracts because it's a thing of power. Look, Jason Garrett said it best. It's all about power. Jerry wants the power. And it's kind of the same thing going on with the Cincinnati Bengals and this whole Trey Hendrickson thing. I think, like I said, though, a little bit of a different case, right? Because of age. And yes, Hendrickson has been led the league in sacks last year. Feels like he's in the top 10, if not top 5, at least top 10 when it comes to sacks. But there is age to worry about. With Micah Parsons, he's in his mid-20s with a lot of juice left in the tank. Don't play around with this. Do not play around with this. It is so dangerous to play around with this. And there's a reason why the Cowboys will not sniff a Super Bowl if this continues for however many years. The Jones family, it's for the Jones family to even ever be in consideration of leaving this franchise, which, let's be honest, maybe never. I don't see a world where, like Dan Snyder, Jerry Jones gets kicked out, right? Or Stephen Jones, who will probably be the future owner, get kicked out. Cowboys are screwed, man. Cowboys are screwed. Now, I'm not going to overreact too much to this Micah Parsons contract. I am going to react, though, to the fact that I wonder if we are ever going to see the Cowboys reach the Super Bowl at this point, if this keeps up. Brian Schottenheimer is looking like a good coach, but I still need to see him coach a game. And who's to say Jerry won't try and take over coaching duties again? He probably will. Let's be honest. Cowboys, we are screwed. You are screwed if this keeps up.
And he's just like, the unique thing between the Cowboys situation and the Commanders and Bengals situation is when this whole thing started, the Commanders and Bengals have kind of kept quiet ever since their stars wanted to trade. Since Micah Parsons and the Cowboys situation has become public, in the last week, Jerry Jones has extended Jake Ferguson, a tight end.
Needed to be done, but
today signed a veteran in La'el Collins.
Yeah.
The worst part of that line from 2014. And he's coming back. He has done the exact opposite of what he should have been doing, which is improving the defensive side of the ball. Don't get it twisted. Cowboys got some great guys. I like Donovan Ezeraku, and I hope they treat him well over there. I like DeMarvion Overshown. I think he had a really good year before he got the freaking Lisfranc injury. But also, it's like, why are you extending people on offense? If there's one position, if there's one area of the team you don't need to improve, it's a team that has, a quality quarterback in Dak, 2 running backs, CeeDee Lamb, a solid offensive line, as has been the case really for the last decade.
Yeah.
What do you really – I mean this with all due respect, TJ, because you know more about the Cowboys than I do. What has Jake Ferguson done to earn that extension?
Jake Ferguson, I think it was a great move to make because I do think he has the makings to be a top 10 tight end in the league. I think last year, different story. He got hurt a bit, but he has shown flashes of being a high quality player. I think this year, Ferguson will be, if I think Ferguson has the chance to be even better than Pickens potentially, depending on how Pickens plays this year. There's that potential. But I do agree with you that defense should have been the first thing to address. I like Leo Collins, even though he's the worst lineman of that amazing O line that we had for years under Travis Frederick, under Tyron Smith, under Zach Martin, who just retired, right? But it's just a Jerry Jones thing, man. It's weird how they operate. And you also got to worry about, okay, Tyler Smith's going to need an extension soon. The guy that we drafted in 2022, he's been great. Now we got to worry about extending him. It took us forever to extend Zach Martin. You know, Brandon Aubrey's going to need an extension. I mean, kickers don't cost too much, so that'll probably happen. I don't think Brandon Aubrey's going to be like, hey, give me 70, make me the highest paid kicker, right? Probably deserves it, but I don't think Brandon Aubrey's going to hold out if he's not given over 20 plus mil a year, right? Then you've got Carson Steele, who's going to need payment pretty soon. You got to address Deron Bland, and pretty soon Trayvon Diggs will be running out of his contract. Are you going to keep him around? You know, there's a lot of questions, and even come to think of it, look, Jaden Blue's performing well in training camp. I love what I've seen from him. Maybe Miles Sanders gets his groove back. Maybe Javonte Williams proves to be the power back that he once was known as, despite the fact that he has hardly any touchdowns to his name. Look, I don't like the running game. That's the weakest part of the offense, obviously. But at the same time, you've got to address the defense, like you said. And they are failing to do that. And time again, that has proven to be the Cowboys' sore spot. We can blame Dak Prescott for all those playoff losses. We can blame Dak Prescott for as many things as you want to blame Dak Prescott for. But at the end of the day, we know who the main problem is. And we shouldn't be putting 100% of the blame on the players. And we can go through this whole carousel of, oh, it's this coach's fault. Oh, it's that coach's fault. Yeah, Mike McCarthy was an overrated hire. Yeah, cool. Got us 12 plus wins. What playoff wins do we have to show for it out of those regular seasons of 12 plus wins? One playoff win. One. There's a problem in the front office, and unfortunately, it's a problem that you can't fire. What I think, as far as the Commanders go, I think McLaurin deal gets done, and it's like Lake Lewis says. Lake Lewis Jr., one of the best insiders in the NFL, who is an insider for Washington, has been for years. Comes onto our station for the morning warm up every Tuesday. Sometimes on the Fast Lane, he's joined this podcast before, giving great insight. Look, I'm not going to overreact about the Terry thing, and I do think Washington has approached this well. I do think you need to pay Terry. Yeah, definitely. But I don't think you pay Terry higher than what T. Higgins got, what Garrett Wilson got. I think you pay him close to what DK got. Yeah. Because again, I would only risk a 3-year extension because of the age. But I do think he's valuable enough to where you at least want to make close enough conversations about a deal there. I think, like I said, I don't think the McLaurin situation is as bad as the Parsons situation. I think that can be absolved easily.
Yeah. I think so. From the start of the season, in the offseason, Terry McLaurin has asked for $30 billion. It's not best receiver in the game money. It hasn't even been top 10 receiver money, to be honest with you. But $30 million's the number he's set at, right?
And I think you can do that too. I think 30 mil is reasonable enough. And I think it doesn't break your bank. Washington's cap space is fine. You can tolerate 3 more years with him. I mean, look, the guy just wants to be paid more than 16 million this year. I think that's reasonable. Well, look what you've proven to be consistent despite all the plethora of quarterbacks that you've had to go through. Sam Howell, Taylor Heineke, Kirk. No, he didn't play with Kirk. But Dwayne Haskins during that time. I mean, Sam. I said Sam Howell, I believe, but plethora number of quarterbacks, and now you got a quarterback like Jaden Daniels who can get you the ball, and now you're putting up numbers that are even higher than what you're used to put up. And he put up great numbers with those quarterbacks, and now you got a franchise quarterback who can get you the ball. I think it's reasonable with what Terry wants, but I don't think that you should go over 30 mil either. And I think front office is being smart at the same time.
Do you think? I think the unique thing that separates McLaurin's situation from even Parsons' situation is that Washington was aggressive this offseason, and they were aggressive in his position. They traded for Deebo Samuel. There's a few people that can argue that Terry McLaurin right now is not the Commander's best receiver.
Oh, I disagree.
I
think
know I'm there with you. Like I think
yeah.
Deebo had a down year. He's approaching age 30. Is he he's also a gadget receiver, which to me feels like someone that you'd be using for ironically McLaurin or a younger receiver than Deebo is. But I think the argument is there because I mean the Cowboys didn't get an end for Parsons. He's their guy. Like if the Commanders lose McLaurin, I think Jane Daniels and Deebo Samuel in that offense is I think can still hum. But I think it's more of an intangible thing. Like you said, McLaurin has been there through the dark times. He's one of the few guys that remained from the core that, went through all those quarterbacks. So, and I mean, he has produced. He's been consistent. I mean, if Mike Evans doesn't exist, we're talking about him being one of the most receivers in the game since him being drafted.
Yeah.
So I really feel like it's a strange situation in Washington. And the fact that it went to this point just has stunned a lot of people. Because Terry McLaurin is not the kind of guy to go scorched earth like Michael Parsons does or other superstars do. He's not that kind of guy. He's actually been very quiet about the whole thing. It just feels like in McLaurin's camp that it's been a lot of bad faith negotiating, if it's even happened at all.
Yeah. I think so too. I just think right now, I like I said, I'm not going to freak out. But to your point, you can argue that Washington was definitely aggressive, but not only did you get Debo, and now you can do wide receiver screens more efficiently, especially now that De'Ami Brown is gone. There's a lot of hope for Max McCaffrey, but more so, I think Jalen Lane, Ja'Cory Brooks, those guys will jump high. They're the rookie receivers that I think, with the speed they have and the capability, I think have a lot of potential. So you're definitely already building for the future as well. But I do think keeping McLaurin around, it's a shame if you don't keep McLaurin after this season for at least another couple of years until it's time to say, hey, thank you for serving us. Are you willing to take a pay cut? If not, then we got to let you go. We want to keep you for as long as possible. We want you to play for one team and one team only, and that's us. But I mean, hard decisions may have to be made. And I think it's going to come down to that for the Trey Hendrickson thing too. I think, I think you want to extend him maybe a couple of years, at least give him close to Max Crosby money. But I think the Bengals have been, I don't think the Bengals have handled this situation well. I'll even go as far as to say Bengals have been worse about this situation than the Cowboys have been about Micah Parsons, because they haven't even tried to talk to Trey Hendrickson as much as at least Micah and Jerry have spoken at least once or twice, right? But to my knowledge, Trey and the Bengals have only spoken once. But I will say Trey, unlike Micah, isn't standing his ground as much because he is showing up to camp, avoiding fines and fees. So you got to wonder, okay, is Trey going to try and do this thing that Micah thought was going to work? Hey, I asked for a deal last year, didn't get it. So let me perform at my best and prove that I deserve that kind of money. I think Hendrickson's proved it, but I guess if you want to stir the pot and put in the best seasonings, then I guess you throw in another year of service to him, maybe, or maybe that loses you the power and leverage that you have and gives the more of that power to the owners.
Does he seem, Hendrickson, the most likely of the three guys that we talked about to be moved?
I think so. I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that Micah and McLaurin are not with their respective teams. Hendrickson's a great possibility, in my opinion. And I think there are teams I could see him going back to the. I think he would go. Okay. I could see a world where he may go back to New Orleans, though I don't think he would 100% want to do that because of the pitifulness that's going on down there. Like, that's a whole nother story in itself. But if you don't go back to your respective team, I think it's one of those deals where the Chiefs would pick him up for a 1 or 2 year deal. Kind of like I'm kind of hoping Cowboys pick up Christian Wilkins for a 1 or 2 year deal, and add depth to that defense. I think the Chiefs would consider that. Maybe the Bills would consider that. Maybe in a world where the Dolphins are suffering from injuries on defense, they would throw some money that way.
Yeah.
But then again, you got rid of Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith because they were up in their 30s,
What about a team like Green Bay?
What?
What about Green Bay?
Green Bay would be great. I could see a world where Green Bay would pick him up. They need it too. I mean, you want to talk about what's the Green Bay Packers' main weakness? It's the ability to get to the quarterback. So who does that best outside of Trey Hendrickson other than your Watts and your Garretts and your, well, depends. Yeah.
There's one other team I just thought about.
Pop it to me.
What about Seattle?
I could see that. They've got the cap space for it too. Sign them a 1-2 year deal. Yeah. Maybe at least 1 year.
So that would be the whole thing, is because the difference with these guys is all their contracts are expiring. Obviously, they're in their last year, if not last two. So,
right.
What does a trade package look like for a Trey Hendrickson?
I don't think it's first or second round, in all honesty.
Not first or second.
No, I would say maybe a third, maybe a DK Metcalf type deal. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that, but I don't know a team that wants to give a first round pick or more than one first round pick for an aging Trey Hendrickson.
Would you give up a player?
I could potentially give up players. Okay. Well, you know what? Now that you brought it up, okay, let's look at Seattle. If Seattle were to make that trade right now, right? Oh, I clicked on the 49ers. Oops. So they are an important part for my next and last segment. Yeah, here, let's go to Seattle. All right, let's look at Seattle's roster for a second. All right, who would you give up? I mean, you just got DeMarcus Lawrence. I don't see him getting rid of that. You just extended Jaron Reed. Don't see a move there. You definitely don't give him Reek Woolen, Tyreek. So my question is, what do you give up? What player do you give up? That's on this team, in all honesty, that the Bengals would be like, hey, we'll take that. He's the only valuable player on second string I could think they would maybe give up. Maybe Shaquille Griffin, maybe Jonathan Hankins, but Hankins is hurt. So there goes your value right there.
Maybe, I mean, it might be one of those things where they just give up because I assume Lawrence is playing left end.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd have to see who their starting right end is.
That's Jaron Reed. Jaron Reed, Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence. That's your front line. Didn't they just sign Leonard Williams too?
Yeah, but he's old, I think.
Yeah, but you're not gonna give up a guy you just signed though in a trade.
No.
Not the kind of money that Leonard Williams is making.
I think the unique thing too with these trades is they're happening so late in the offseason because most teams are cutting. And it's different this year too because it used to be week by week that preseason cuts would happen, but now it's just like one batch cut of 90 to 53 men on the roster. So I think the fact this is happening so late in the offseason, it's a unique situation. And the fact that
Yeah.
there's as much talent
Yeah.
available, the fact that there's as much talent available as there is that want trades, whether or not they actually do get traded is another matter. But the fact that a Trey Hendrickson is out there and we're a month left until the season starts, I think it's a very, very unique situation that not just the Bengals, but the NFL, has to deal with because it's become a very real thing in the last decade.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
But I don't know. You mentioned all those guys that were like in the D line, and now that I think of it, I would argue maybe Seattle doesn't need them as much as I thought. I guess that they've done pretty well. You can look at Green Bay's roster if you want to look at them because I know I brought them
Yeah.
up
No,
too.
let me pull that up. I just
You
thought
could
of another
argue
team. I feel like I just thought of another team that could use him, though. What if the 49ers signed him to a 1-year deal?
so you can have Bosa on one side and Hendrickson on the other.
Hendrickson on the other. And then you've got other younger guys in that mix that you can like switch them out so they're not on every drive. Look, they just drafted Mikael Williams out of Georgia, right? So I mean, they didn't just draft him for him to not start necessarily, but maybe you throw them in the mix. Okay, look, you got Lucas Van Ness, you got Kenny Clark, Devontae Wyatt, Rashawn Gary. It's not the strongest front four out there, and they go with a 2D 2D tackle set. So they start with a nickel 4-3,
Mm-hmm.
4-3-4.
The it's an appealing defensive line. I think the situation with them is a little different. For Seattle, it was like maybe they could win the division with the pieces they have because the NFC West, spoiler alert, is kind of wide open for me. But Green Bay, it feels like they're the third team in that division, or at least the
Yeah,
second team, because they're in the same conference as the team that was the one seed in the NFC last year, and even if they didn't do as well as people thought. So I just think it's one of those things like if you want to compete in that division, if you want to go take that next step, even if it is for a year and go all in, you might have to give up one of your young pieces. But if it's for a Trey Hendrickson that you believe you can extend, because Green Bay's been good about the cap so far. I mean,
no,
Christian
yeah, they
Watson's
have.
just about off the books. So
And what if you gave them to the
maybe
Steelers?
it's a trade.
Steelers are
I
already
mean,
adding
honestly, if you
30-year-old
go in,
pluses on the
you might
team.
have to give up a second round pick for him.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you're right. Maybe. It's just I'm trying to be. This is why I couldn't be in the NFL front office. I don't think I'd be a great negotiator. You know, I would think a deal sounds good. I
I
mean,
mean,
look,
I'm
if
trying
my
to avoid my
fantasy
team
trades
as
have meant
well.
anything, then that's a perfect proof right there.
Yeah,
What were you going to
I
say?
I just think the main team I was trying to avoid talking about was my team because they've been linked to Micah Parsons and they've been
Who?
linked to
The
Trey
Patriots?
Hendrickson.
The Patriots?
Yeah,
If the Patriots get Micah Parsons, that's massive. That makes them a contender, in my opinion. I think they've got such a great offense, but the defense is what worries me a little bit. And I really think that's what is going to hold the Patriots from getting a wild card spot. I think they'll be one of the biggest improvements outside of the Arizona Cardinals this year that go over 500. But the question is, with how competitive it is in the AFC, is there a world where the Patriots make the playoffs? You add Micah Parsons to that mix, I say yes. But Micah is not going to New England this year. So
no,
there's no world where Micah leaves this year. There's a world where he holds out, but there's no world where Micah leaves this year. Jerry just won't let it happen, man. Micah will be a free agent next year. So now it's like, okay, you franchise tag him maybe, but that's as far as you can go without signing him.
yeah,
So the conversations to be had right there, Joseph.
it's possible. I mean, maybe not Micah Parsons, more so Trey
Yeah.
Hendrickson. But I just think the fact that Trey Hendrickson's available, then I mean, pass rush is something that New England has needed since Matt Judon left. I think is a pretty big reason for that. It's just that's where they were in
Yeah.
in the draft pool. I think the betting odds for Micah Parsons behind him staying in Dallas had New England up there. I mean, I don't know how much I buy that. I'm just like throwing it out there because, like you said, contending team, young team, you want to take the next step. I mean, do I think Micah Parsons is getting moved? I'll believe it when I see it. Do I
Right.
think Trey Hendrickson is getting moved? That one, I'm like, I'm feeling more confident about that. But the more I'm thinking about it, I just think Trey Hendrickson might hold out. But I think the Bengals will suffer as a result of that
The
because the
Bengals will
Bengals.
suffer with Trey Hendrickson because they don't have a defense. They don't have the greatest pass rush.
Can I just
Even
say
with
it?
Jamar Stewart signed, the Bengals defense is going to be horrid. I
I
just,
think for me right now, the Bengals have the worst defense in the league.
yeah, I would argue, I would agree, in AFC wise potentially, but I would argue that, and maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but I'd argue the Titans are up there with the worst defense of the AFC. I'd make that
Hey,
argument.
I'm trying to be a little bit biased on the Titans, man. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt now that I cover them.
Yeah, I would argue the tight. I do agree with you. The Bengals definitely have one of the worst defenses out there. That's right, man. My Tennessee boy, looking out for his team.
Look, I didn't want to talk. Look, I didn't even think about the Titans, but now that you mention it,
Right.
aside from Jeffrey Simmons, can you name another guy on their defensive roster
Outside of Jeffrey Simmons.
off the top of your head?
No, yeah, Jarius Reed, right? Out from Kansas City.
Oh, yeah. Is he still with them? I mean,
Yes,
wasn't
he is
he?
still with them.
Wasn't he in
Yes,
Hobby
he is still
Nation
with
for
them.
half the year last year?
I
Yeah.
know Harold Landry is no longer on there, so
He's with us now. He's with New England.
yeah. I mean, out off the top of my head, no. I'm sure if I looked at the roster, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, they're there."
They got
Forgot
some
about
prospects.
that.
Now that I'm
Yeah,
thinking about it. They got that kid from
I know.
UNC.
What is it? Devondre Sweat from Texas is there. I know that. I just thought about him.
Right.
I don't know, man. That's uh uh. Yeah. Well, I mean, okay. Well, let me pull them up. I mean, shoot. Yeah, man. I'm looking at this roster, and I just don't think it's the greatest in the world.
Yeah. Can't think of many. I mean, I can think
Um,
of Simmons, I can think of Sneed, and I can think of Cedric Gray, the linebacker from North Carolina, because I talked to
that's
him in
true.
ACC
And that's
media
the
today.
second string linebacker too. Oh, I forgot Draymond Jones was there. Oh wow. Okay, wow.
News to me.
All
I
right, man. Well, I think when you look at the show, we were going to predict division winners and everything, but the podcast has already gone over. So I think it's best we table it here and then do predictions on another time. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, with that being said, the next time that we meet on the Sports Nerd, we're going to have Joey on to talk Big Ten, though, because he's got some stuff to say about his Buckeyes. And I plan on doing a college football outlook next week, working on it right now as we speak. But thank you for joining the Sports Nerd Podcast. We hope you've enjoyed the content we provided. And to all those listening, thank you so long and have a great night. God bless.